Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I'm Brad, here with Doug.
Hi.
Final Fantasy 15 is about a year old now,
Mhm.
and we both finally actually got around to finishing it, Doug.
Yeah.
So, just some perspective on this. I finished it about a year, or about, not a year ago, about 6 or 7 months ago, December, January, right around then. And then Doug
Mhm.
just finished it today or yesterday, or in the past couple days somewhere.
Past couple days, yeah.
So, we just kind of want to talk about this game because it's a very interesting game.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of different things happening with it. We may get into spoilers here, probably, but just
probably.
just a just a warning to you if you haven't played it. We will get into spoilers, be that minor gameplay stories or location things or big major story. At some point, we'll probably talk about the ending. So there will.
Well, definitely, you definitely, if you talk about Final Fantasy 50, you definitely have to talk about the ending.
That's true. So there will be spoilers in here. So
Mhm.
just keep that in mind as you're listening. But
Yeah,
I guess since you just finished it, in my opinion's kind of way back there. You can listen to our
yeah.
review, which we'll link here. Uh, what are your thoughts now, having played Final Fantasy 15 at this point? Because it is a bit of a different game than I played.
Yeah, just like I was one of the people who was like super excited for Final Fantasy Versus 13. I was like I kind of got over the fact this is not going to be Final Fantasy Versus 13, and I was like, okay, I'm okay with that. So like what I want to do is like, okay, because it's not Versus 13, I wanted the game to get to the point where everybody said, okay, this is pretty much done. Because I think when it first released, there's a lot of questions about like they're adding extra story stuff, they're adding this, they're adding that. So it's like, okay, we're at the point where they've added most of that stuff
Yeah.
in. And now I want to play it. So I actually watched Kingsglaive before.
Oh, see,
I
and I
watched
never
most
watched that.
yeah, so I watched Kingslave, I watched most of the anime,
Nope.
and then I played Final Fantasy 15. So like I just want to do this like the correct way, quote unquote.
Get the whole
And
experience.
yeah, and after like watching and playing everything, I this is like legitimately probably one of the most disappointing games I think I've ever played. And it sounds like and I understand like that's like a very common thing. Everyone's like, oh, it's not Final Fantasy. Oh, it's not that. It's like I just feel like every single aspect of this game, even the parts that are really, really good, it just feels like everything is like just poorly implemented. Like the story aspect just is so disjointed and you can feel that these scenes were not meant to go in the order that they go in. Like they were clearly like especially if you watch Kingsglaive. Like Kingsglaive, like it's very clear that was supposed to be Noctis. That was what was whatever the hell happened in Kingsglaive was clearly supposed to be not going on with Noctis and not this character Nyx. Um, the fact that like characters just sort of come in and disappear, like Core was like a cool character, and then he sort of disappears, and it's like, okay, is he Bahamut or not? Is that I don't know if that's ever answered, or
Well,
Bahamut is just
they
something.
do get into some of that in DLC because he's the main character in Gladius. DLC.
Okay,
He you pair up with him again, and then Prompto. God, I can't remember the character's name. You pair up with somebody there, so a lot of those side characters come back now in the DLC as those
yeah,
fill-in stories, which again, I think goes to your point of having to kind of not get that full view of the story because you've got so many different avenues there. But those characters do
yeah,
come back in the DLC to kind of add a little bit more to their story.
yeah. I guess I can sort of understand that, but like to me, like this was like supposed to be Final Fantasy. Like I understand, like to me, I can understand those stories are supposed to be like sort of like separate, but like just the way characters just come into this game and then disappear. Like I get that that's explained later, but like in this game it's just not explained at all why they disappeared. They just did. Like Core is a super cool badass, like who is not with you in the final fight. Like it's like, oh, okay. Like the one strongest guy in this game is like not in the final fight or anything like
Y'all
that.
got this. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and it's like Luna and Noct are really in love, but they like never talk to each other.
Nope,
Um,
not even once. If I remember correctly, I don't think they do it all in that game.
yeah, they write letters back and forth to each
That's
other, and
right.
that's how you know.
Oh, and the
That's how
little
you know they're
dog
in.
thing carries them back and forth or whatever, right?
Yeah, that's how you know they're in love. But it's just I think our problem with this game was like I just constantly I really really wanted to like it because there were certain aspects early in the game that I really did love about this game, and I was like, I hope these things pan out. I hope that these sort of like story nuggets, these character nuggets, these like little things that they're dropping, like just like coming upon a creature in the wilderness was like really really cool initially. So I felt like this game had a lot of potential when I was going into it. Like when I first got in like the open world, it's just like wow, walking around a Final Fantasy world. This is the coolest thing ever. And then it just like as I just kept playing more and more, it just felt like nothing. It just felt like nothing was finished. Like every single aspect of this game to me felt unfinished in one way or another. And I just felt like I need to talk about it because like I feel like I've been waiting this game for like 13 years. And then like I felt like I tried to do it like the most correct way possible. So it's like, okay, I'm going to understand the story, and if I need to understand the story, I need to watch all these things, and like I'm going to do it right. And then even after watching all these things, like this is still like very very disjointed. It's just one of those games you can just feel the production issues in
Yeah.
every way, shape, and form. But I know you really like this game. You love this game
Oh yeah, for
from like
sure.
what we
It's
talked.
it's fantastic. I love this game. Yes, absolutely. But I think, and this is everything you're saying is completely true. I
Mm.
really think this is a game that your enjoyment of it completely depends on your ability to look past its flaws, because the flaws
Yeah,
are numerous and they are a lot. This is a very ambitious game, and
yeah,
I think when you sit here and you go, because what you're saying is you walk up to these creatures and you're like, whoa, that's crazy, that's awesome, this is so cool. And I think
yeah,
it's that sometimes you get that monotony, and over this, I don't know how many hours you put in, but 30, 40, however many hours you end up putting in,
yeah,
it does get a little monotonous in that sense. And the combat, I think we talked about it in the review, is that weird middle ground of like, it's not as cool as like a Bayonetta or a Devil May Cry action game, but it's also not
yeah,
as strategic as a traditional Final Fantasy game. You're just in this kind of middle limbo thing, and I
yeah,
know that doesn't really hit very well. It's I think when we talked about it in the review, I talked about it just being good enough, and
yeah,
I think that's one of those things where it's, if you're looking for that great combat, it's not there. It's good enough. It's serviceable. It'll get you through the game. You can enjoy it, but it's not this super deep system that I think a lot of people want when you think of a Square Enix game of this size. Their big ones normally
yeah.
have that good combat, that good battle system, and I think a lot of it to me just came from, okay, I get what you're trying to do, and this is a huge idea. Is it poorly executed? Fairly frequently, yes, but those
Yeah.
cool moments really do hit well, I think.
I I kind of want to agree with you. I want to agree with you, but I think to me there was like really just like overall I think there's only one really strong aspect of this game, which is the four main characters.
Oh yeah,
Um
but again,
yeah.
it's one of those things where the parts you look at, like those four main characters, to me, their
Yeah.
interactions together change the entire thing of this game.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those things where when I look back at that game, I don't think about combat. I don't think about the story. I think about all the cool moments driving down the road in the
Yeah.
car. And that's such a weird memory now, sitting here
Mhm.
7 months later, thinking about the game. And you asked me a couple of questions about combat systems and things like this, and going like, I don't honestly remember. I loved this game, but I don't remember really exactly how the combat played. But oh man, there's this cool part where you're driving down the car and you see this thing, and they're like, oh, you should pull out.
Yeah.
And those are the memories that stick with me from this game. So I almost feel like this is one of those games where I don't like it for the story, because I to this day couldn't tell you what the story was about.
Yeah.
The gameplay, it's serviceable, but the way the characters interact is so good that it lifts up the rest.
I see. I want to agree with you because I think the thing I was trying to do with this game is at some point I just started to treat it like a Suda 51 game where where with like Suda 51 games and Nier and Yoko Taro games and there's and like who's the guy who does Deadly Premonition. Either way, what it
Oh,
is like these games are not good games. They're just not good games. But there's
that's
one thing that you can hold on to that drives you through the game, and
that's
everything else feels serviceable. And what it was, I kept trying to look for that one thing that I could say this is incredible, and it was those character interactions. But the thing with those character interactions is they stay pretty much like they're all excellent. I'm not saying they're not. I'm not saying they're not good or bad or anything like that. Besides some very very cool story points, those character interactions stay very similar throughout the entire game until I'd say the last like three chapters. So it is very interesting that they're saying they're talking about these things, but those characters really don't grow. I would say I think maybe until chapter. Oh god, I'm not gonna know what chapter is off the top of my head, but basically to the point where spoiler because we discussed it. We talking about spoilers, but it's like where Ignis goes blind.
oh,
I
that's
think the
so
whole
cool.
which that is such a good scene. But I think that whole section beforehand, it's like I really like these character interactions, but there's nothing that's like I. It's not like I'm excited to see the next character interaction where they say something neat about the thing that I'm looking at. You know what I mean? So it wasn't. There was nothing that felt me like to drive forward. And then in regards to the combat, like I actually did like sit down and like I'm going to try to understand what this work like where the strategic aspects are in this. It's like okay, I'm going to try to get behind enemies. Okay, now I got it. Okay, now I got blindside damage. Okay, I'm going to try to do some warps. Okay, I got it. So I get some warp damage. Um, but then like as soon as there's more than like if you do like a one-on-one fight, it's fine. It's like it's okay one-on-one. But then when you fight with multiple creatures, like you can't really get that blind side, and it's moving too quickly, and your character's moving too slowly. Like your character, like your grouping position doesn't matter at all because by the time they run through their entire animation of doing whatever link attack is, the character like the enemy's already moved around, so you're not gonna get like a back attack with like Prompto's piercer shot because it takes like 5 seconds for him to go through the animation. So like it just felt like this. I was constantly fighting with the combat like every single step of the way, and I just never understood it. Like even going, I think the point where realized I did not understand it was I was in chapter 13, fighting the end boss of chapter 13, and just dying, like just getting wiped instantly.
Is that the one where you're like it's like a helicopter pad or something and it's raining?
No, no, it's the one where you're fighting the guy who has like it's like Luna Freya's brother, and he's like all demoned and he's got his arm cut off and stuff.
Nope. Okay.
Yeah. See, it's like a major character fight that you just don't remember. But like, I just realized like I was either like when I was going to combat scenarios, I was either just completely dominating, just wipe the floor from, or was getting destroyed in one shot. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like I read through all the guides, I read through everything online, like just to understand this. And I was like, maybe the combat's just bad. Like maybe like because there's just nothing in that combat that's done, but nothing in the Final Fantasy 15 combat does something better than another combat system. It's just the worst one I've played in years. Like, simply put, it is the worst one. I cannot think of a single action game that has better combat than Final
But see,
Fantasy.
and again,
is worse combat.
And again, you're going action game, and I think that's where you have to take a step back and go like, this isn't Devil May Cry, this isn't Bayonetta, this isn't an action game per se. This isn't Platinum doing the combat.
No, but what is it?
It's a weird mix, and that's what it's somebody taking a risk on something. It's somebody trying something a little bit different. It's how can we take what works in Final Fantasy, these strategic, these different things, and how can we add some action elements on top of that? And like I said, I will agree it's not great. It's not great. It's serviceable. But I think it's cool in that it's somebody trying something different. And I think that's part of what gets me going with this game is a lot of it is I feel like Square Enix pushing the boundary a little bit and going like, okay, we're going to try some new stuff with this. And a lot of it doesn't hit. A lot of it doesn't hit.
Yeah, I would say like
I know you'd say all of it.
No, but no, I'm curious. I'm actually curious, just so I can start getting on the same page. Like, which ones do you think, besides like the four main, which I think we should talk about just to get on a more positive note too, is like besides the four main character interactions, like what like mechanic do you think hit? Because I'm like actually curious.
So again, thinking back 7-8 months removed, the four main characters are the big thing that sticks out. The summons are crazy good.
Oh, summons!
I love the way the summons work. I like magic. I thought magic was interesting in the way they implemented it. I thought it was a cool change of pace. I didn't use it a ton, but it's one of those things that always comes out as a cool change of pace when you do that, and just the effects with that are really good.
One sec, with the magic real quick, did you realize you could mix? I didn't realize I could mix items with my magic until like chapter 13 or 14.
Yeah, it was probably like 7 or 8. It was definitely like halfway through. Halfway through sounds about right.
When the magic comes out, but like actually building your magic, I was like, they did not explain this well.
No, they didn't. And then you kind of realize what it is, and you're like, oh, okay, there's actually some thought process to this more than just like, I got more thunder.
Yeah, I don't know how to make a Thundaga. I never saw Thundaga. Can you make a Thundaga? I have no idea.
Yeah, I know you could have, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But those stick out specifically to me in terms of systems. Yeah, I'm trying to think back. I like the way you explore the world. It's not something in the vein of like Zelda, where you can kind of do whatever you want and go wherever you want at any time and everything's completely open. But I almost like the like tapered down, like, you know, like almost like hybrid linear open world that it does. Just because, and we've discussed this before, I'm really not a fan of open world games where it's, oh, here's everything, and you could spend 18 hours collecting little tiny things. I thought this was a cool way to kind of do, okay, if you follow the road, you can do your linear story perfectly well. And as soon as you get off the main road, there's some different stuff you can do. And I thought that was a good way to kind of mix in the group like me that really just wants to go, I want to play Final Fantasy. I want to get my Final Fantasy story. I want to have some fun with this, and I want to be done. And then the people who are like, no, this is Final Fantasy. I need to go to every town. I need to see everything. I need to talk to every person. I need to go and hunt for every loaf of bread that the baker lost. Like, So I thought that was cool as well. But those are, I guess, the main things that off the top of my head stick out and go like, that's what this game does well. But yeah,
No, I don't disagree. I think the world and stuff is really cool. I feel it's just like I think the idea behind it, especially with the summons, like these summons are like they're gods. They
yeah,
treat them like
oh yeah.
gods. Like I thought that was like really cool. I one of my favorite actually like one of my favorite moments of the game, like I would say one that does stand out was I was going into chapter 14 or like one of the final chapters, and I was like, huh, I never saw Ifrit in this game. Um, and then like, oh, you fight Ifrit. I was like, oh, that's really neat. Like, I just liked how they took these sort of like traditional,
The things you're waiting for, and they did something different with it.
yeah, they did something different with them, but they did it. I feel like they did it almost. They didn't do it like in a different way that Final Fantasy normally does. Sometimes they'll do summons like summons are actually now the name of airships, like they did in Final Fantasy 12, or do something really. They'll do some
Yeah,
weird things with summons sometime. But this time it's like we're just gonna treat them like the gods that we're saying we've been saying they are the entire series, and I really
yep.
did love that sort of implementation. I could never quite figure out how to summon what I wanted.
They're really
Um,
weird, and I think towards the end I looked up like these are cool, and I wish I did more of them. And it's really weird like battle conditions for a lot of them. Like
yeah,
X number of character needs to be dead. This one needs to be under 10% health, and you need to have this or something. They're all very weird.
yeah. I just kept getting Ramu all the time, and now I'm not. So I don't know.
You
But no,
did
I
something
really did
wrong.
like. Yeah, I really did like how they treated them as gods, and like when they did meet them, it was just like, oh shit, like stuff. Like I don't like the Leviathan fight mechanically. It was a neat fight, like actually getting to fight one of these. It felt like that was a fight where it's like, oh, you're fighting it felt like one of those like Final Fantasy battles you like read about or like you see like, okay, I do my attack, you do it, your attack, and we're fighting a quote unquote god. But like that was like one of the first times I think visually they showed it really well. Like, no, you're actually fighting a gigantic creature that's destroying a town.
Yeah,
um,
I think
I like
I think that fight actually sums up this game pretty well. That Leviathan fight. I
that
think
is
that
so
that fight
true.
in itself is the perfect analogy for this game
Yeah,
because it's everything you've always pictured. These going back to the early days of Final Fantasy, these kind of just text-based things happening, going
yeah,
into more of the PS2 era where you're just seeing these cool animations. I feel like it's the ultimate realization of that, where it's like, oh my god, this feels like I'm fighting something big, and this feels like this is this huge, crazy event, and you're sitting there just enthralled with it, and the whole time you're like, oh god, but damn it, I can't, I want to warp there and I can't.
yeah,
And that, if I could just do that right, it would,
yeah.
this would be the greatest thing ever, but it's not.
Yeah, it's just like every single thing in Final Fantasy 15 feels like is like if they had just like even with the disjointed story, but if everything had just been done like correctly or not correctly is not the right word, but just been like maybe just another year was all it needed, like another third delay or something
A
like that. But
15th
like
year, so to speak.
yeah, exactly. Like if they just need one more year to kind of to hammer those out because especially I think like one of the last fights with Arden, like Arden is kind of a neat character idea. He's like this like lost king who everybody thought he was some sort of demon guy. So he's like, fine, I'll be a demon. Like that's kind of an interesting character, but his fight is horrible. I didn't understand what the fuck was going on. Like mechanically with it, it's like okay, he's warping, but again, I'm just gonna wait for it to parry, and then I'll be good. I think. But yeah, it just felt like every single, and that's why I understand like the way I'm discussing this is like really disjointed as well, just because there's just so many weird aspects of this. I think one of the things that because we kept talking about this, like I think positively, like I think the four main characters were really cool. I like that. I think it's kind of funny because I think that was actually one of the concerns going into the game. It's like why do we just have these four dudes? Like as far as Final Fantasy cast, like these guys
That's
aren't.
pretty pathetic, yeah.
Yeah, it's like where's our cool alien dude? Like somebody needs to be green or blue. Like what's going on? Um, but no, I like that their banter was really good. I felt like all characters were like really like weirdly well realized compared to the rest of the game. Like I just felt like they for whatever reason they're like okay we're gonna do this one thing right. Um, I like that they make a lot of Final Fantasy jokes like
Yeah.
about like I think one of my favorite jokes is when they go into an ice cave and he goes and Prompto tells Noct he's like hey your tips are frosted in your hair. He's like does it look cool? It's just like it's fun like we can make fun of Final Fantasy here
Yeah.
like they can sing they can like make jokes about being in an RPG and stuff and I think that whole like brohood thing all kind of accumulates really well with the scene we were talking about earlier where Ignis goes blind and I think that's probably the pinnacle of the game for me. It's like the things it did right,
Mhm.
because it shows this conflict between the characters that one of their friends got really hurt, and it was because of something that they were trying to do for their loyalty to the king,
Yeah.
and the king doesn't really want that sort of responsibility, and now he has to take it on
Yeah.
because his friends are getting hurt because of it. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. I just felt like really weird about this game. So I don't know. I just wanted to talk about it because it's just like it was this game that I had been waiting for I don't know how many 2000s, like 15, 10, almost a decade, I guess, probably a little more than
Yeah.
that. And then just like finally getting to play it. Maybe I had like too many expectations on it. I think at the end of the day, though, like I said, if this thing was done right, then it could be excellent. Like I really hope they carry on a lot of that stuff over to Final Fantasy 16. I need my character banter in 16. I need
Yeah.
my open world in 16. I need my awesome summons and cool looking creatures in 16. Everything else needs to get fixed.
Yeah. And I guess that's a good place to kind of wrap this up is
Yeah.
there I'll agree with you, there's some good. And I think honestly, again, this is a game that expectations probably did play a factor into, because I didn't have very high
Yeah.
expectations for this. It was something I was like, oh yeah, I'm interested, I guess. And like I remember playing
Mhm.
I downloaded the Japanese demo like 2 months before it came out, played 10 minutes of it, and went, oh, this doesn't look good. This sucks. So
Yeah.
again, I think that might come into part of it too. Is what were your expectations for this? Being it waiting for a decade, or being gonna, I'll play it if I can find it for $25-$30, which is what I did. So
Yeah.
I do think that plays a part, because I think there's good in here. There's a whole lot of bad, and I think again it's
Yeah.
just it really comes out to what are you looking for in this? What were your expectations? What were you looking for?
Yeah, I think I just wanted to like it more. Like I kind of went in like knowing it had issues, but I just didn't realize how to me personally how prominent those issues felt.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
anyway, Final Fantasy 15, an interesting game, is for sure
Yeah.
something you could say, and it's a game that I think needs to be talked about, and I think it's a game that's cool to kind of sit back and look through and point out
Mhm.
what went right, what went wrong, and see where the series is going to go from here, because there will be a 16.
Yeah,
Announced or
hopefully.
not, that's coming, because there's been 15 already. So
Yeah.
but we are Workforce Gaming. You can subscribe to us here, follow us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming. We'll see you next time.
Bye.